This is video 2 of 5 in the Mapping Your Community training video series to assist local governments in identifying and mapping geographic areas with significantly disproportionate concentrations of underserved populations to address new state requirements related to conducting a major equity analysis contained in the Transportation Planning Rules. In this video, we will show you step-by-step instructions for how to use the Department of Land Conservation and Development's Community Explorer tool to explore underserved populations in your community. This video will focus specifically on how to use the Community Explorer dashboard to identify variables of interest to map using the web mapping tool. This process will be described in subsequent videos. For more on how to use the guide and other functionalities we won't cover here, refer to the Community Explorer Mapping Tool User Guide available on the Equitable Engagement Toolkit webpage, linked in the description below. As a reminder, DLCD is providing these training videos and the accompanying guide as part of their Technical Assistance Program. This guidance is a resource both for cities required to meet requirements in the Transportation Planning Rules and for those wanting to enhance their community engagement. This guidance is intended to assist in the interpretation of an administrative rule, but does not itself have the force of rule. This guidance includes recommendations that are one way to be consistent with the rules, but other data sources and methods are also allowable. To get started, open the Oregon Community Explorer dashboard. You can find the link at DLCD's Equitable Engagement Toolkit webpage, linked in the description below. This dashboard is a flexible tool for exploring demographics in your community. We will be covering the elements of the dashboard most relevant to this mapping exercise, but we encourage you to explore the dashboard in more depth. At the top of the dashboard are filters that allow you to focus your exploration. The first filter allows you to select a jurisdiction type. This makes it easier to select a jurisdiction name based on the type of jurisdiction you choose. Topic of interest filters include total population, people of color, people with low income, and people with disabilities. These filters can be used to highlight areas of greatest interest in your community. On the right side of the dashboard, you can explore additional variables of interest. We'll get into these in more detail in just a moment. And finally, once we start filtering things, there will be a reset button at the bottom right of the dashboard that resets all of the filters. There is a detailed user guide for the dashboard available on the DLCD website, also linked in the video description. Once you have the Community Explorer dashboard open and are familiar with the basic functionality, you can filter by jurisdiction type by clicking on Jurisdiction Type in the top left of your screen. For this example, we will be using the Salem UGB, so I will click UGB. Under Jurisdiction Name, you can scroll to find the urban growth boundary you're interested in, or you can type in the search bar here. We're going to use Salem-Keizer for this example, so I'm going to select Salem-Keizer in the jurisdiction name. You can see that the map zooms to show the area that you have selected. However, the hexagon layer won't appear until you zoom in far enough. If you're zoomed too far out, the information will show as rectangles that are less precise. These hexagons are color-coded based on total population. Light green hexagons have less total population, while darker blue hexagons have the most population. The hexagon layer can sometimes take a little bit longer to load. Once you have filtered by jurisdiction type and jurisdiction name, and your map is showing your community, you can begin exploring the data themes to identify various population demographics. To do this, you'll work in the Data Themes panel on the right side of your screen. There are 4 data themes, each with a set of related but separate variables. The 4 data themes are health and ability, households and families, race and ancestry, and socioeconomics. You can see as I click on each of the data themes that additional variables of interest appear below. For this example, we are going to use the health and ability data theme and the disabled variable of interest. You can see when I click on a variable of interest that circles appear on the map. These are showing the number of people or households representing the variable of interest within each hexagon. The size of the circle corresponds with the size of the selected variable of interest population within that hexagon. The colors remain the same, again showing the total population in each hexagon. In our example, we can see hexagons with a larger population of people with a disability have larger circles. We can also see how those populations relate to the overall population in that hexagon. The darker colored hexagons represent higher population. So if we want to identify areas where the populations with a disability is larger relative to the overall population in that hexagon, we might look for hexagons with a large gray dot, but a lighter color. Finally, if you want to dig into more detailed demographics for each hexagon, you can click on the hexagon and a window will pop up with more data to explore. You can see the total population of the selected hexagon at the top. Below that, you'll see a bar graph with some additional statistics for each of the 4 data themes, plus some bonus information. You can hover over the bar graphs to get more detailed information and scroll through the various demographics with these arrows. You can repeat the previous 2 steps to explore all data themes and variables of interest until you have identified the major variables that you plan to map. The next 3 videos will show you how to create and print a map using the Community Explorer web map.